Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. What up, random rockers? Sorry, had to make sure I stopped it in time and everything, and not good. Well, even though I'm never monetized, so it's not like it matters, but anyways. Yeah, but in case you're wondering, and if for some reason it's not going to be in the description, the version I've used is the recent one that just came out this past week from Galactic Empire. Yeah, I'm kind of was jamming out to that too, and plus the video's hilarious, so check that out if you haven't already. But yeah, this is the 5th Indiana Jones film in the franchise, the 5th to have, the first to not be directed by Steven Spielberg, or even George Lucas himself actually be involved necessarily. Said this is directed by James Mangold, and I also want to also iterate that, well, this was a movie and a series of movies that I've grown up to, as most people probably have, from their own old man as well. Or at least it's the one thing involving Lucasfilm that apparently my dad did get me into when I was very much younger. That he would always watch because he always loved them. To the point where he's seen them so many times, sometimes he'll fall asleep every so often. No, he'll still enjoy himself every time he wakes up to it. If that says anything about my dad. I will tell, since he's not here, because I didn't think I was going to be able to get him to do a review with me, and I don't know, and it felt like it would have been awkward. So I'll just say what he said in his words. To him, it was typical Indiana Jones movie, and for him, that was good. He didn't bitch about Crystal Skull like most people. He's very casual moviegoer type. So as far as I'm concerned, if that's not enough to get even, and if he could enjoy this movie, why can't everybody else? It was fun, and the only thing he didn't have fun with was the guy sitting a seat or two next to us was kept mouthing off every so often, and that annoyed him. It's like, and I was kind of annoyed too, but I was like, so fuck that guy. Shut up. So that was the only thing he had a problem with. It wasn't even the movie itself. So even though I did notice some things that were an issue, where it's flawed, yes, this movie is, but it's not unenjoyable. Something that is hard to fully say about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Up to point, it has, that movie has some merits. So does this as well, and I think their merits shine way brighter than the merits in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So as far as I am concerned, I like this better. If I were to rank these movies, I would say my number 1 and 2 could go either way, and I would say the same to anyone else, because, it could go either way for anyone else. I feel like your 1 and 2s, because let's face it, those are the 1 and 2s that everybody should have, no matter what, when it comes to this franchise, to me. Because right now, it's Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Dial of Destiny, Temple of Doom. I'm debating on whether or not about these two here. Debating. But for right now, these are fully for sure confirmed. The ones that you can go either way with: Raiders of the Lost Ark, is my number 2, and number 1, of course, is The Last Crusade. Or at least I've seen that one more times than any, and have enjoyed that movie more times than I can count. So I have more. It's more that than anything. But I can understand if Last Crusade, these two can go, the top 2 can go either way. That's fine. And of course, going into Dial of Destiny, all I wanted was be better than Crystal Skull. Make me debate on, and the fact that it even made me debate on whether or not I would want to put it above Temple of Doom or not. I don't know if it will. It might stay in 4, but we shall see. But that's my rankings on it. As far as the film overall, as soon as I saw it at a matinee, and that's where I would say it's still theater worthy. It's worthy of a matinee. I can understand if some people want to give it a high rental, but for me, that's where I feel this movie is. So in my usual rankings, before I even get to talking spoilers, which I'll talk about, like, hell, even my dad initially, and I would agree with this as well, I was surprised, like, I think Harrison Ford gave enough of a shit in this movie, because I was surprised that they pulled off this adventure as well as they did, given how old Harrison Ford is. And it made it work, you know. Sure, some scenes were a little long, some action set pieces were a little long in tooth at certain points. I loved the first 30 minutes of this movie very much. I still liked the rest of the movie much because it felt like the classic Indiana Jones. The rest of it felt... And it almost had a more Last Crusade beginning feel, but being more a classic Indiana Jones thing than like a young Indiana Jones thing like Last Crusade was, which was kind of cooler, I guess, in that regard, but with Last Crusade at least. And plus, there was a moment where he gets on the train and walks on the train. You could kind of tell CGI. But that was like the only, like, it was brief though, luckily, because we went back to the normal shit, so I was able to still stick into the movie, luckily. So it didn't completely take me out, but it almost could have. And there are moments with the CG of his face, but surprisingly, you'd have to nitpick like a motherfucker to think it was that noticeable. They made it somehow work. As far as the de-aging in the beginning of this, and for the first 30 minutes of this, Phoebe Waller-Bridger is fine. I guess I would give her her character a little more credit than as far as the women involved in Indy's life. She's at least, I guess, more interesting than the chick than just being like a typical damsel in distress type of thing, like in Temple of Doom's thing, which we all kind of figured out it was because she was pretty much banging Steven Spielberg and eventually became Spielberg's wife at this point. So at least that somewhat had merit, I guess. but this worked fine. As a character though, she's not as fun, and then we kind of wound up having Freddy, I think, or is it Freddy? Is the character's name? Fuck, I probably fucked that up. Let me double check here. Let me double check. 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 Do. No, Teddy. Sorry, I knew it. Fucked it up. I had it rhymed right though. To be fair. Teddy Kumar, played by Ethan Isidore. Yeah. He was fine. I guess he was more interesting than Short Round, but I would have, like I've probably seen anyone who's seen my Facebook post, I kind of wanted to see more of the Short Round. Well, I would have liked to, I don't think they had a chance when they made this movie and knew that what's-his-face that played Short Round was going to make the comeback he did in my favorite film from last year, Everything Everywhere All at Once. So, would have been nice. I don't think we'll ever get to see that, but if we get a TV series with him, as an older Short Round, that'd be great. Okie dokie, Dr. Jones. I'm just here like tails short round. Tails short round. For the love of God. They're just saying. And plus, if he can do it and kick ass like he did in the freaking Everything Everywhere All at Once, yes, sign me up. Sign me the fuck up. But yeah, and certain characters do make comebacks. Some you don't see in the trailer, because some you do. And Antonio Banderas is in this movie as sort of this fisherman that has a certain legacy, but you don't really see that thing to his legacy. It's more that he's just Antonio Banderas is here, just in case you noticed him. It wasn't bad though. It wasn't bad. He was there. They just had not much to do outside of just kind of plot device thing for move the plot forward and blah blah blah. But I'm sure whatever other movie he was in that he got like nominated for an Oscar, he might have been good in, and I missed it. And I'm sure you were, Mr. Banderas. Loved your earlier work, of course, Zorro and all that. So, but anyways, yeah. But overall, as far as my actual thoughts on this movie, like I said, I would probably give him an A. I'd say it's, for me, I'd go with high thumbs up. Short end, keep it real. That's just me though, because it seems everyone else wants to. Some people want to shit talk this thing. Some just I feel like are being trolls for the sake of being trolls. My buddy, you'll know what I mean. I seen the video. I couldn't finish it. I was just annoyed as shit. I'm just gonna tell you that. But yeah. Anyways, because I wanted to go in blind within this movie and have my own thoughts on it. And my own thoughts. I like this. I wasn't expecting to love it though, or be a Last Crusade or Laters. There was no way that was going to touch that. But to make me think on debating whether or not I want to, I think I spit there, I'm sorry. Between Temple of Doom and stuff, to say it's better than Crystal Skull, but to the fact that I'm debating on whether or not I want to move it with Temple of Doom should speak enough volumes, actually. I think. Personally. Though I won't, hell, the one time I don't agree with Johns, I still think this is better than Crystal Skull. He, for some reason, thought it was better. That just felt like it was just Spielberg doing an obligation for Lucas. And Lucas still on his bullshit with the prequels, and that's part of the reason why we loved the thing when it happened. And yet we're bitching about it now. So that's why it's such a mindfuck how people are now all of a sudden the prequelist things is now a cool thing to do. When the prequelist kids are like our hipsters are not even like, just shut up. Oh man. But anyways, there's your Star Wars talk enough in there since it's associated with Lucasfilm. But let's talk. Now we're going to talk spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You've been warned. And in 1944, during the Allied liberation of Europe, in World War II, Nazis captured Indiana Jones and Oxford. So archaeologist Basil Shaw, as they attempt to the Holy Lance of and at Nuremberg Castle. I think I got that pronounced right. Jürgen Voller informs his Nazi superior, which I forgot to mention, his character, I believe, is that this lance is a fake, but he has found half of style and mechanism built by the ancient mathematician Archimedes. Leads users to fissures in time. Jones escapes onto a Nazi train filled with antiques. That whole sequence was actually fun. They leap from the train just before Allied forces bomb it. So this is like shortly after that. And it was one of the fun sequences in the movie. Minus the thing I just mentioned earlier in this video with the train thing, which was just brief. Luckily, it was just like only for like a few seconds. So it didn't bother me as much after that. So, and I was able to enjoy the rest of the movie. And then we fast forward into 1969, after the 30 minutes of this movie that I just kind of mentioned in this city. An elderly Jones retires from Hunter College. And this isn't mentioned until later in the scene. This thing I'm about to mention, that the plot summary here, Wikipedia is giving me, this doesn't become something that is mentioned until later in the film, when they meet with one of their friends, with Antonio Banderas' character, when they're on the ship, which is a great moment in the movie, by the way. And when we finally get exposition that makes sense of why this is happening, because we just see divorce papers or separation papers between him and Miriam, and we don't see or anything about him because he's not in the movie. But what they do tell you, and some people think it's an issue, or at least the people that did were the ones that were more willing to defend that portion of it for some reason. So you see, an elderly Jones retires from Hunter College, which forcibly, I think. He and Marion separated after their son Mutt died in Vietnam, more leaving Jones depressed and withdrawn. When Michelle, Jones' goddaughter, unexpectedly visits an archaeologist, she wishes to research the dial, but Jones warns how her late father, Basil, nearly went insane attempting to unlock its secrets. Basil gave Jones the dial to destroy, but he never did. Instead split it in half. As Jones and Helena retrieve the dial half from the college, it was already split in half, never mind. Forgive me on that one. As Jones and Helena retrieve the dial half from the college archives, Volier's henchmen attack them. Volier, now working for NASA, the NASA under a new identity, is assisted by a CIA for NASA. I should have said NASA. I don't know why I say NASA. That's on me. including Agent Mason, which the CIA agent, I wish we would have got more from her, because she was pretty good in this movie. Genuinely. And she would have been a better side than the goddaughter, but it's because of the relation thing that she's sort of there, but it still works, I guess, kind of. Escapes with the dial half, exposing her to the auction in the black market. Jones flees into a ticker tape parade, which was a okay scene. It was just a nice little set piece, celebrating the Apollo 11 astronauts, and then an anti-war protest before escaping on horseback through the New York City subway system. He seeks out his old friend Salah, which was nice to see him again from Raiders. Now a cab driver living in New York with his family. And it's just as fun seeing him do it like it was in the trailer. Give him hell, Indiana Jones! In Tangier, Jones prevents them from auctioning the dial, which they had a good conversation, him and Salah, by the way. Jones prevents Helena from auctioning the dial. Voller and his henchmen arrive and steal the dial, forcing Jones, Helena, and her teen sidekick Teddy Kumar they pursue them in an auto rickshaw after a friend. Which I need to know what that is. I guess it's sort of like a coup. Dick Chase, the CIA apprehends Voller, who has his own agenda, now disavowing Voller. The U.S. government wants his neutralized, but Voller's men kill the agents and steal their helicopter. Jones, Helena, and Teddy trail Voller to Greece and team up with the Jones' deep-sea diver friend Ronaldo, played by Antonio Banderas. They dive to an ancient sunken ship in the Aegean Sea and retrieve a Ghost tablet containing cryptic directions to the dial's other half. Voller arrives and kills Ronaldo, then chases Jones' group to Archimedes' tomb in Sicily. Inside a labyrinth cavern, Jones and Helena locate the tomb and the dial's second half, as well as Archimedes' skeleton, which holds a modern-day wristwatch. Voller captures Jones wounding him, which winds up coming back later in the film. The whole wristwatch thing. Resembling the dial, Voller revealed, which Voller was fine. He didn't get to do as much because he wasn't as around as the henchmen, and henchmen were kind of just typical henchmen to me. Though they did like they did some things of killing, like shooting people, and in this movie, and not having no remorse. So there's at least that, since there isn't anything like extravagantly crazy in terms of as crazy as the previous 4 films in terms of like something involving the Ark, not in terms of like it affecting them to death or something of that nature. But anyways, it's wounding him. Resembling the dial, Voller reveals his plans to time travel back to 1939, assassinate Adolf Hitler, and lead Germany to victory in World War II. Which is a motivation that's not terrible, by the way. Voller activates the dial and sets a flight path for an open fissure. Jones is captive on the plane while Helena has sneaked aboard. Teddy steals an aircraft and pursues them through the opening. Rather than 1939, the time fissure instead leads to the 212 BC siege of Syracuse. Roman warriors shoot projectiles at the approaching plane, which makes sense that they're believing that it's a dragon. Jones and Helena parachute out before it crashes, killing all aboard. Meanwhile, Teddy's plane lands safely. Helena observes the fissures is closing and urges that they leave immediately. Archimedes inspects the wreckage and finds Voller's wristwatch, which is how he got it. He gives Jones the dial, but is fascinated by the watch and keeps it. Jones and Helena learn that Archimedes created the dial solely to bring users from the future to aid the Greeks. As the fissure begins collapsing, Helena insists on leaving. Jones, who is wounded, wants to remain behind, fearing he may not... Which, that part makes some sense because of how he really is about history. Because of his involvement as an archaeologist and how history... and being a history teacher in that regard. With Jones, sort of makes sense that he would do that, and plus him where he's at, how depressed he's been with the loss of... It just made sense. It made some sense that he would act like that, you know. And he may not survive or could alter history. Helena knocks him unconscious. They return to 1969 aboard Teddy's plane, which they cut from that, and it goes fades to black, and we get this. Cuts to black, and then eventually we get it to where Jones wakes up back in 69. Jones awakens in his apartment, is reunited with Helena, Teddy, Sala. And it seems this is where Helena eventually makes up for her bullshit by deciding, because of what had happened earlier, and brings in Miriam back, who helps him recuperate. And we get a nice little moment that's very much a callback to Raiders, or there's between the two of them, between Jones and Miriam. Yeah, which results in them later reconciling, and you get a fade out, which results in him grabbing the hat, him on the hat, grabbing it before it does the fade out to black, you know, the little usual circle thing that used to happen, you know, where it goes to the hat that's on there until he grabs it, and then whoop. That's kind of how it ends. Some people are a little iffy on it, but personally, the only reason why I'm willing to let it slide, how they sort of retconned what happened in Crystal Skull-ish slide, is because they at least allowed him to still have Miriam, you know, and fix things with Miriam. That's at least enough that I can be happy with this ending, as far as I'm concerned. Because the whole Mutt Williams thing was, for me, I understand how it seems out of character-ish. So maybe there's something that I wish we could have had to lead to Mutt Williams, or as we later would find out in Kingdom of Crystal Skull, Mutt Jones, technically. If Mutt was going to go into service to Vietnam, and unfortunately didn't, like you said, didn't make it out, and it led him to being depressed, which makes sense why he was as grumpy as he was in this movie, and it's fine. It's kind of Harrison Ford being, I guess you could say in that regard it's Harrison Ford being Harrison Ford, but it still works in Ford Jones's character in terms of the motivations as to why. So it still works. And given how old Harrison Ford is, it made sense in it, and you could tell he still works for him with his age, and that he can still kind of give a shit in comparison to what it seemed was happening in Crystal Skull, personally, to me. So yeah, overall, I enjoyed this movie. Like I said, overall, I enjoyed this movie very much. I do feel bad for the people that don't. I do hope that they enjoy this more. I just hope some people are at least able to come out of it enjoying this more than Crystal Skull, at the very least. I did, and that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. Hell, I was just surprised that Harrison Ford gave a shit, and made me still captivated that the star character of this entire series, Indiana Jones, even at his old age, was still interesting. Still interesting. Even my dad was, like, surprised. So, it was like, you know, so take that for what it's worth. So, like I said before and earlier, strong thumbs up, light, keeping it real. Yeah. But yeah, those are some of my thoughts on this movie. Hopefully, what did you think of Indiana Jones Out of Destiny? Did you at least like it? If you didn't, I guess tell me why. I'm not gonna probably agree with you, but go ahead. We can try to have discourse. It's not gonna be a very strong one, but we could try. You comment below, let me know. If anything, when it comes to the spoiler reviews, I'm more in the camp of Stuckman and not Johns. Let's go with that. And also, if you like this video, rock that like button, thrust if you must. Hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell to see all my videos, get notified of all my videos, and please make sure you hit the all on that as well, to make sure you do. As always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. I'll see you in the next video. Take care, y'all.